I've stuck my character down onto the board, and I've used printed label, which just sticks down, and I've rubbed that nice and flat with a spoon. So that's how I've got the drawing on there. Let's just talk about the orientation a moment. This is the front of this stool, so this is the way you will actually see the character. So it's important to put it this way up, and not so that when you approach the stool it's upside down. So make sure you orientate the character to how it'll be seen when the stool is just placed on the floor. And then the character itself, well, I'm not a Tibetan scholar, and as we know this is a pen or a brush letter, but what I'm looking for is, in my own aesthetic sense, how this might work as a simple abstract design. So for example, I've made sure that these ends here of this horizontal strip, these are at the same angle. And Tibetan is a script where everything is hanging below these lines anyway. So this is like a huge serif going along. So I've made sure those are the same. And then instead of, for example here, I could have had this just coming up like that and bump up against this block. I've actually, and this is quite alright to do, move that in there. So I've got a little bit of a mirrored thing going on here. This is straight, but this is slightly curved. So I've got these long, straight, slightly curved bits. Then I've got this curly bit here. And then I've got these bits at the top. So I've been looking at this, how it goes thick, thin, thick, this sort of thing, and trying to get that into some sort of pleasing shape that I like to look at. I'm not a Tibetan, but if that was my stool, I'd like to be looking at it in a particular way. So having thought about my design, got it onto the board, I'm going to hold it in the vise, like so, between two clamps, and then I'm ready to start carving it. I'm going to start with the straight parts first. I usually do that because that's the easiest part, and then I fill in the curves later. So what we'll have here, of course, will be a center line, and this will be, you know, the usual V groove in here, center line down here, and then there'll definitely be walls at the end here. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work, but I'm pretty sure that's going to go through to the end here and the wall down there. So let's just put these bits in. So what I would do is I would not go as far as the top, and I would just create this bit. If it's a big fat letter, you might like to put a V tool down the middle. That's just one possibility. Take some of that waste out. Okay. That'll just help with this. Starting off. So you could take some like that, or you could just go straight in with a chisel and put that center line down here. But I'll use a wider chisel here. And then angle cut. And that feathers out to nothing at that point. And an angle cut on this side. Trying to meet that down the middle. Now this one that's slightly curved, I'm going to take out as much as I can with the chisel. Avoiding that edge. And on this side, and then I can clean this up. Now I'm marrying the cuts together, and I'm making a bit of a slice here to come down like that. And on this side, so this is a straight one. So what I'm trying to do is get the center of this groove here, the root, what we call the root, in the middle, so everything's parallel. Now on this one, a slightly different technique. Because it's curved, I can treat my chisel, and I might even pick a smaller one here, a narrow one. I can treat it as a gouge, and I can start pushing that like this. Because this is a shallow curve, I can push it with my thumb like so, marrying each cut. Now, it doesn't, I mean, I can do this. This is another option. This is called chasing. But I tend to do like this because you've got a slice cut here and not more of a sort of square cut. Now on the inside, you're going to need very flat gouge. And just merge those cuts together. Keep it tidy as we go along. We might, once the paper comes off, see where we are with this. It's a little difficult to see because our chisel cuts are much more fine than the pencil drawing. So there's our first two. Make sure everything's now clean because we're not going to come back to that root especially. I'm going to bring this now into this cross bar at the top. So if you imagine this is a bit like the top of a T in Roman lettering, we've got walls at each end and we've got the trough going in here like this. So what I normally do is I cut the a stab cut on each end like this first with a fishtail chisel. And I'm going to do it on this end here. And that is because the grain is going in this direction and will tend to splinter out. So let me just put those in. While I'm at it, I'll put that in there. And I'm also definitely going to need some sort of stop cut in there. So try and work out where your stop cuts might be, and then let's do this one. Stab cut down the middle. Same angle. You see how splintery that is there because of the way the wood fibres work. That's so interesting. Okay, and then I can now finish that off with a slice cut. So this is a cut down the side, like so, but pushing in this direction as well, or pulling. So I'm actually slicing this face up to the line. And on this side too. And then here's the end wall. And this wall, do you see how this is tipped out? So all the walls, like in all lettering, are at the same angle. And that's really quite important. It's quite a deep bit of lettering because it's so big, but it wouldn't matter what the size was. that's nice and tidied up. So this would now come, we'd bring this in, so this would, now we've got that, we can bring that straight through like this. I'll probably change that to something. The way I've got this coming is a little bit different from that, but still has 4 sides. So there's one side here, 2 sides there, an end wall and a top side. So it's the same as that, only slightly angled. So let's take some of that waste away to begin with. And I would work my way up here a little bit in this direction. Into that top here, and there's the end. So around over here. Now this is going to be quite deep because it's at that angle. It's going to go fairly well down. So, oops, need my mallet. Push that in there. Push that corner right in. So I've got a curve here, so I'm going to use a curved gouge into that corner there. Make sure that's merged in. And on this side I can do this with a chisel. There's that end wall coming in here. Now at some point, of course, I'm going to run out of angle on my chisel, so I'm going to have to switch to a skew chisel. This is quite a fishtaily sort, but it doesn't really matter what you've got. And start pushing that down into there. And if all these angles are consistent, then that will naturally be a certain depth. Pretty much coming to a point. I think you can see that happening down there. So it's a matter of following the logic of the wall, really. I guess that's what I'm saying. And then trying to finish off a clean root and clean walls here, and of course clean junctions just there. So that's all coming to a point. Still 4 walls. This top wall here, this end wall here, this wall coming over here, and then this side wall coming around here. These corners here, these very edges, it's difficult to see because of the pencil line and the paper, so there will be a final tuning when this paper comes off.